Helga's Pennsylvania Cooking. Today we're going to make something as iconic to PA Dutch region here in Pennsylvania as probably as much as shoofly pie is, and that is Amish sticky buns. Now, I had to laugh, you know, growing up here in PA Dutch country, I've only ever known them my entire life as sticky buns. Whether they had nuts or no nuts is up to you, but sticky buns is what they are. And I had to laugh because someone from another part of the country was sharing the recipe for caramel pecan rolls. Yeah, sticky buns. But you know, they were not familiar with PA Dutch or Amish culture. You know, that's just not everywhere. It's one of the things that makes Pennsylvania special. And so caramel pecan rolls, or as I know it, Amish sticky buns. That's what we're working on today. Now, Mike's grandmother made wonderful sticky buns. Nobody has that exact recipe anymore. This is why passing on your recipes to your kids and your grandkids is just gold. It's the gift that keeps on giving. And so one of my coworkers, his elderly aunt, gave him her recipe for hers, which he loves. So we're going to give those a try today and see how close they come to what Mike's Grammy made, because I'm searching for something that's like those. It's not like they're going to be bad regardless, right? I mean, how can sticky buns be bad? So we're going to try these. These are my coworker's Tom's aunts, and see how they come out. And of course, you know, they got called sticky buns, whether they were caramel pecan rolls. They're called sticky buns because, yeah, they're sticky, but they're so good. Totally worth it. And they are different than cinnamon rolls. Cinnamon rolls are a little bit different dough and have icing, have a vanilla icing on top. Sometimes they also have cherry filling or cream cheese filling or apple filling or blueberry filling. You can go for ages with that. But sticky buns are the caramel topping with nuts. Walnuts, pecans, you choose. I've got pecans I want to use up today, so pecans it is. Let's get to it. So believe it or not, this is a pretty simple recipe, although you wouldn't know it from my recipe cards that she gave me. However, one good thing about being a long-time baker, we can infer these things. So we're going to make our roll dough. We're going to need 3½ cups of lukewarm water and 1½ cakes of yeast dissolved in the ½ cup of warm water. And I'm going to put at the end of my video the conversion here for yeast cakes, yeast packets, and bulk yeast for measurements and recipes, because that is super helpful depending on what you're able to get so that you can have the right measurements for the recipe that you're doing. Extremely helpful to have that. 1½ tablespoons of salt, 1 3/4 cup sugar, and flour enough to stiffen, which is almost 5 pounds, roughly 5 to 7 cups. And we're going to get that going and let that rise before we do the rest of it. Okay, so the 1½ cakes is basically 1½ packets of active dry yeast or instant yeast. Active yeast you have to let proof in the warm water, which I'm going to do. Instant yeast you do not have to take the time to proof. Once again, I'm going to include at the end a legend for all of these to help you out. So we're going to let this proof in the warm water. And it has to be like 75 degrees or better to activate the yeast well. Now we're adding 3½ cups of warm water. We're going to add 4 tablespoons of melted crisco, not too hot. 1½ tablespoons of salt, our dissolved yeast. And you want to make sure your water isn't too hot as well. 1 3/4 cup sugar. And we'll start adding flour, enough to stiffen up and work the dough. So, I've got my dough stiffened and kneaded. It took a good 7 cups. It varies depending on environmental factors from time to time. And we're going to let this rise. Now I'm just setting this here. I'm going to let it rise till it doubles up. And then we'll be ready to do the next part. This will take a little bit. So my dough has risen, and now we're going to roll her out, about 1/4 to a 1/2 inch thick. Now you can see this made a bunch, and I'm going to basically cut this in half, do 2 parts. We're going to work the dough down. Now, one of the things I'm going to tell you is, like when you were mixing the flour in, and you have a guesstimate of how much it is. If you add too much flour, that can affect how your yeast works in your dough. And if you don't have enough, it will not rise up like it should. So it's one of those tricky things. But and would have been nice if I could stay on the mat, huh? And I make an oblong shape like this, just like if it was in a jelly roll pan. Make it kind of squared end there. That's about the right thickness. So, next comes the fun part of the goodies going on it. Next, put the goodies on. So, I'm going to spread my butter on. You can see the consistency here that I have it. So it's, able to be brushed on, but not liquid. You want a good coating because you want that sugar to be able to meld into it good. The good stuff. Okay. Now the brown sugar. And make sure it's pretty evenly coated. And if you need a little bit more, use a little bit more. If you don't need as much, these are guidelines when you're doing this. Okay. And then the cinnamon. Make sure that's spread out. Okay, it's pretty even. And then we're going to roll this long ways. Put more flour down for my working surface. There we go. Make it pretty uniform there. And then we're just going to cut off, and you can decide how you want to do this. I like about 1 inch pieces. And we're going to make the syrup for these lovelies to go into. So let's get making the syrup. So for the syrup, we're going to do 1 cup of melted butter, 2 cups of brown sugar, and 4 tablespoons of light corn syrup. Ignore the little bit of flour there. But golden corn syrup. And be careful with the corn syrup. This stuff is stickier than all get out. That's why it makes good candy and stuff. Definitely puts the sticky in sticky buns. And the brown sugar. Now you want to keep stirring this. Don't let this not be stirred. This is, like I said, this is a caramel, so you want to keep stirring it the entire time until it's fully dissolved and very hot. And then I'm going to ladle some into our first pan for the bottom over a layer of chopped pecans. You can use walnuts or whatever nut you like, but this is common. And that is ready to place in the pan. So I have my cast iron pan ready. I'm going to lay down a layer of nuts. If you didn't know it, Pampered Chef has a cast iron line now, and it's USA made by Lodge. So for those of us that are Pampered Chef fans, that is a win-win in my book. Lots of nuts. We like nuts. Okay. Now I'm going to take our caramel mixture. I'm going to ladle this over the top, because then we're going to set our rolls on top of this. You just want enough to cover the bottom of the pan. So there that is. Now we're going to set our rolls in. And we're going to let them rise again in a warm spot. And they're already starting to rise. Okay guys, these have risen over the last 45 minutes to an hour. You can see they're nice and double in size and filled up the pan nice. And they're going in the oven at 350 degrees for around 20 to 30 minutes. They're out of the oven. Now, I'm only going to let them cool about 3 minutes, and I'm going to turn them out onto a wax parchment papered surface. There's the first one. And anything that came off the sides, just scoop that up and put that right back up on top, because it's going to cool and set. And then it will all have that goodness. I'm going to let them cool down a little bit, and then you know what comes next. Sticky buns. They're done. Oh, look at that. Still a little bit warm, but best time when they're all ooey gooey good. And the disgruntled one already gave him a test, and he was just going to have a little bit, but he ate a whole roll. And oh man, these are good. He says it's very close to what his Grammys was, so I think this is a winner. See what Tom thinks. But, oh my goodness. Look at that. Oh, look at that yummy goodness. Exactly what you want. Definitely Moorish. And definitely sticky. So, PA Dutch Amish sticky buns. This is a winner. And I like mine nice and doughy. They'll set up a little bit more when they're fully cool. But yeah, there you go. I made it in the cast iron, which I think gives it a little added something. Doggone, they're good. So there you go. PA Dutch Amish sticky buns. Give them a try. This is an awesome recipe. Directions are in the description below the video. And here at the end, I will include that table about yeast and the conversions for you. Enjoy.